Hello everyone, in this video I'll be showing you the most overpowered Oath of the Crown Paladin build guide in Baldur's Gate 3. At level 9 we get Spirit Guardians, and at level 3 we get the Champions Challenge, which will compel all targets within a 9-meter radius to only attack our character, and there's a synergy here I'll be showing off with a slight multi-class. So we'll be starting off as the Oath of the Crown Paladin. This gives us our Righteous Clarity, adding the proficiency bonus to attack rolls for 10 turns, which is pretty nice, but we do want to save our Channel Oath charges for something else, which I'll be showing off. As for ability scores, we can add in a single level of the Hexblade to make our entire weapon scale off of Charisma, and I think that is likely the best choice here. Early game, you can go build around Dex or Strength, but I think Dexterity actually works out best, as there is a really useful medium armor, which I'll show off in this video, that just puts this on a whole other level. We'll be using 16 Dex, 14 Constitution, 10 Wisdom, and 16 Charisma. You can also take the points of Strength and put them into Intelligence for the saves there. But we'll roll with that. Make sure you have the skill proficiency and Persuasion if you're the face of the party. Into level 2, we get our Divine Smite, which is a core principle of this build. We also get to take a fighting style, and I would recommend the defense for the +1 armor class. It's extremely useful. Protection can be good if you want to protect your teammates, but we have other reactions that we can use, so we're going to stick with defense as it's likely the best choice here. Now, I'd recommend grabbing all the different smites here. We're not going to use them, and also we'll get command at next level, so we can just take something like Bless, or you can use command for the first early levels, and something like Shield of Faith, I guess. We're not really too concerned with our Paladin spells. It doesn't really have the best spell list, but as mentioned there, see, you got command, and we have Compelled Duel. But here's the big thing. Champions Challenge. Challenge all enemies around you in a 9-meter radius as a Wisdom save to attack you and only you. They will make disadvantage on attack rolls against any target that's not you, so the AI of the enemy is more likely to focus on your character. And if they don't, they get disadvantage, so that's really good. We also got the Turn the Tide, which can heal our teammates, and we can't be affected by disease, which is nice too, but not something super needed here. And then we can add in, I guess, a Cure Wounds, just give ourselves an extra heal. Our spells are not going to go to any of those spells, honestly. Spell slots are better used on Divine Smite. Level 4 gives us another Lay Hands charge, so we actually are a tank, damage dealer, and can do a little bit of healing. Now, our first ability score improvement, I would just recommend taking up Charisma. The Alert feat for the +5 to Initiative can work well, too. I'll also mention this is the Valkyrie Queen armor set by Ren. I'll be showing off actual base game armor in the combat and equipment sections, but the extra attack at level 5 is a big power spike. We also get some better spells here, and we get the Spiritual Weapon, which gives us a pretty useful bonus action. The Maul can daze targets, which can set up our command to land more easily. That's the best choice for that. Now for the spells that we'll be going with, I guess adding an Aid is not a bad choice. Branding Smite, if there's an opportunity where that can be used. Magical Weapon is not super useful as it does require concentration, so doesn't really need to be taken there. Level 6 will give us our Aura of Protection, which gives a plus Charisma modifier to saving throws in a 3-meter radius, so you have to have your teammates really close, but this is really good for succeeding on saving throws. It just protects the team so much better. So we'll stick with this, and then I think it's best actually at level 7. The Divine Allegiance isn't super useful, especially with the armor that we take, because it makes your character take radiant damage. There is ways to get radiant resistances, which can be useful, but use this sparingly. Sometimes it's better to not protect your teammates. What we want to do now is add in the Warlock so that we can focus on just getting the Charisma scaling on our weapon. This is also nice too because it gives us a shield spell, which can increase our armor class by 5, making us even further tanky. And it also gives us the Armor of Agathis or the Hellish Rebuke. So a couple more spells that we could go with. I personally like Armor of Agathis for the extra health and cold damage, but you may also really enjoy the Hellish Rebuke here to add fire damage to your attacks. I'm going to go with the Armor of Agathis, but those are the two choices. And we're going to make sure that we do grab Booming Blade. This will add a 1d8 and later on 2d8 of thunder damage, and if the target moves, a 3d8 of thunder damage. We can do this on our first action and then Divine Smite. And you can also set Divine Smite as a reaction, so you can get a lot of extra damage in on your attacks. And these all scale off Charisma. If you don't want to use Eldritch Blast, the Bone Chill is nice, or even Mage Hand, because you can use Mage Hand to throw healing potions at your team to further boost up your survivability. I actually think that it's best to go back to the Paladin at this point, and we'll continue on this way. And you may have to put your spells back on because sometimes they get removed whenever you multi-class, so just a heads up there. And at level 8 we get ourselves the ability to take the Charisma all the way up to 20, and prepared spells, there's nothing super major there. It's really just whatever's available. There's nothing that we're going to be using outside of Divine Smites really. Level 9 is big because we get Spirit Guardians here. This gives us the ability to protect ourselves with the radiant damage, which has a lot of ways to debuff the enemy. And we also get access to level 3 spells. Some things like Revivify can be nice. blinding smite can potentially blind your target, but it does use a bonus action, so don't always want to use that. An elemental weapon can be kind of nice, adds a 1d4 of an elemental damage type, so we could use things like ice damage to buff up our weapons. Crusader's Mantle can buff up your entire team to add radiant damage on their attacks. Not super necessary, but again, we're going to use our spell slots on Spirit Guardians, Spiritual Weapon, and Radiant Smite, Divine Smite. Now, I actually think at this point, the Aura of Courage just protects you from being frightened. Not super useful. I actually think that the best way to enhance this even further is to add in the Fighter. This gives us another fighting style, and if you're using a shield, dueling will give you additional 2 damage on your weapon. Great weapon fighting if you want to use a 2-handed weapon, which I am showing off here. It's this Axe Sethin, which is a reference to JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. Kind of cool. But depends if you want to use either great weapon fighting or dueling. I prefer the shield as this more of a tanky character, so you can go with that. There's also protection there. Again, as mentioned, it's a reaction, but we already have a reaction, so it just adds to the mix. Now, level 2, Fighter, Action Surge. This is why we wanted to take this. This is a big boost to our damage because we now got a Warlock spell slot at Short Rest and Action Surge. These combine together to give us some pretty good burst damage on turn 1. Now, as far as gear goes, we got a lot of really good options. So, for helmets, it's if you're late game, the Helm of Baldur is going to be the best in slot, giving you healing, can't be stunned, can't be critically hit, and +1 armor class and saving throws. Early game, Haste Helmet can be a good choice. Helmet of Arcane Acuity is not bad too if we want to lane commands, because this will increase every time that we do a weapon attack, so that can be pretty nice. Hat of the Storm Siren's Power can also be good, because whenever we deal thunder damage, which we can use the Baldur Alluve weapon, we get ourselves the Arcane Acuity. And also the Haste Helm to give yourself plus 4.5 meters movement speed can be nice. If you get a Darkness team, the Steel Watcher helmet can work great, but I think Helm of Baldurin or the Helmet of Arcane Acuity are 2 best choices for helmets here, as the Arcane Acuity can make sure that we land command, which we can cast as a bonus action if we use the Band of the Mystic Scoundrel. Very useful. I also have the Cloak Protection, really best available. If you want, you can use the Cloak of Elemental Absorption to add additional elemental damage to your weapons. The best armor is, in my opinion, the Luminous Armor, and you can get this in Act 1. It is very useful. Whenever we deal radiant damage, we cause a radiant shockwave, which creates a 3-meter radius where it applies radiating orbs to the enemies, which is very good. So that's something we want to use. Helldusk Armor is the best if you want to be maximum survivability. That puts our armor class up to 27 versus the 22. We are sacrificing a bit of armor class, but this will draw enemies' attacks towards us. Armor Persistence is also extremely useful, so you can go with that. Armor of Agility will also give you an equal amount of armor class, and the Dwarven Splint Mail is also not a bad choice, but I think that the best absolute choice is the Luminous Armor. Radiating Orbs, if you don't know, give a minus to the enemy's attack rolls, and they stack up to a -10, and we can apply these really easily. Spirit Guardians will apply this. Divine Smite will apply this. Luminous Gloves, we have, when the wearer deals radiant damage, the target receives 2 turns of Radiating Orbs. Yeah, we also are fully stacking up Radiating Orbs there. I also like to have the Coruscation Ring here, so this is great on a spellcaster because it only counts as spell damage. It inflicts Radiating Orb for 2 turns. And I got the Boots of Stormy Clamor. Whenever we deal in a condition, it applies 2 turns of Reverberation. Radiating Orbs is a condition, and then Reverberation can knock the target prone, ending their turn. So they can run into our Spirit Guardians and have their turn end, which is huge. Now I got the Sacred Star here, which adds additional radiant damage and 1 turn of Radiating Orbs on the target. This is my personal favorite weapon for this. But early game, as I mentioned, the Baldur Alluve weapon is a really good choice because you get the Shrieking Song, which can give penalties to the enemy's saving throws. And also, Sword of Chaos later on in the game is a pretty good choice too if you're going with a 2-handed weapon. So those are some other decent options. Really, whatever you got available, you can use. I just think that the Sacred Star is nice because that extra radiant damage, and it applies Radiating Orbs on the enemy and can possibly turn enemies. And you get the Heart Dawnburst Strike there, which is really nice too. So a lot of great bonuses, but the extra radiant damage is quite nice. There are also some other radiant damage weapons in the game. You can use those too. Viconia's Walking Fortress just gives us a lot of defensive buffs there. I also like the Ring of Elemental Infusion. So whenever we do Booming Blade, it'll give us a 1d4 of thunder damage on our next attack. So that can be good, but if you're in honor mode, it actually doesn't work properly. So things like Crusher's Ring, the Killer's Sweetheart are also good. Even Crypt Lord Ring to give yourself a Create Undead can be nice. A Ring of Free Action, whenever you go on difficult terrain, you don't get slowed down. This is also great. The Ring of Arcane Synergy. This will add our Charisma modifier to our weapon attacks, so that's a +5 to all damage. And again, Band of the Mystic Scoundrel is extremely useful because we're able to cause ourselves to do command as a bonus action. So pretty useful. Hell Rider Longbow with a +3 to initiative is also quite nice here too. So this is what it looks like when we get into combat. When it comes to combat, we're a protector. We want to make sure that our teammates are safe. So we want to apply the radiating orbs as many times as possible. That's capable by running around. So that's a beautiful thing about this. That stacks 4 stacks of radiating orbs and 2 stacks of reverberation. So find where you can run into the person to really just apply these conditions here, and then just make your way around so that you don't get hit with any opportunity attacks. Now, this can be extremely useful for just protecting your teammates because that's already a -4 to their attack rolls. And sometimes it even stacks even further. That's 6 stacks of reverberation on the enemy there. And then what we're going to do is go ahead. Our first action should always be the booming blade, which will further stack reverberation, or not only reverberation, but the radiating orbs, because our weapon will do any type of attack we do is going to apply further radiant damage. So that target now has 10 stacks of radiating orbs on them. So if we go to proc the opportunity attack, they're not going to hit us. Critical miss. So yeah, that would have missed either way. But we'll just go in for our next attack here. You can also, if you want to, you can set your reactions as a smite here. So you can do a weapon attack and not even think it'll always apply the divine smite on it. I'm not going to for the purpose of this, but it allows you to stack up extra damage on top of your other attacks and other things like booming blade too. So I'm just going to go with this here, get the free damage in, boom. Yeah, a lot of extra radiant damage is nice because this can also apply radiating orbs. So we now have some targets over here to get to, but we're going to protect our team. So I'm going to go ahead here and divine smite this target, or actually we'll do a booming blade on this one, and we'll go ahead for one more attack there. Critical hit, took them out. I just wanted to apply the radiating orbs because it's really good to just go in, stack them up as quickly as possible and the enemy's there. So boom, another target, and they have 10 stacks of radiating orbs there. Perfect. And what we want to do now is we have our Champions Challenge. So whenever we can find a place where we can set this up to get as many targets as possible in this, what we want to do this for is because with our Spirit Guardians, we're gonna grab the enemy's attention, and then we're gonna apply debuffs to them all. So boom, we hit 3 of them with the Champions Challenge, and they all got hit with it. It applies reverberation to the first target hit, so that can be pretty nice too. We don't have enough movement speed to hit that target there, but yeah, that's a pretty solid first turn applying the radiating orbs. I also summon them all in before combat. The concussive smash can possibly daze the target, which again means that we can link things like our hold person, or from someone else a hold person, or our command spell. And you can see that here, it attracted this target to come and attack us, and they got the radiating orbs built up. They lose stacks of radiating orbs every time they attack and miss, so that's something to keep in mind. But you gotta watch out for things like command. That's our biggest nemesis here. Because yeah, it's just not a good thing to get hit with that. Otherwise, you see there, we stack and reverberation on the enemy. Pretty good. Every turn, we want to try and apply the radiating orbs as much as possible to the enemy. And we also have the Hexblade's Curse too as an option that does use our bonus action up, but we also have the quickened incantation there too. So just something to be aware of. We don't always have to attack with Divine Smite because we apply radiating orbs on every attack thanks to the mace that we have also applying them. So 6 stacks is crazy. So yeah, we'll just go ahead with another attack there. We missed, but we applied reverberation somehow, so we knocked them prone. It's ideal to knock the target prone when it's their turn, because it ends their turn when that happens, but we'll run with that. We apply the -10 to their attack rolls. That's all we needed. Now, what we have is a bonus action command, and we can upcast this. I like to use command approach, and what we'll do is we'll command approach all 3 targets that we possibly can. We have a +10 to our spell save DC, so we have a 27 spell save DC. That's thanks to the Hat of Arcane Acuity there. So it makes it pretty effective, because then we're going to go with our command approach, which makes them run into our Spirit Guardians, getting the radiating orbs on them. And we'll go ahead there. We got counterspelled. Of course we did. Normally we would just be able to take out 3 enemies here. They keep missing us. They cannot hit any shots, which is perfect. Exactly what we want. Again, every single turn we want to try and apply as many radiating orbs as possible and go after spellcasters. That's kind of the top priority here, to shut them down. But even so, radiating orbs will just delete melee attackers, so that's something we want to do. And yeah, we're going to target this spellcaster here. We can use a Divine Smite. Just be mindful, we don't have a lot of spell slots. We also have a Warlock spell slot, which will refresh on short rest, which you want to try and use if possible, but it always goes through your normal spell slots first. Kind of unfortunate, but yeah, now we have 2 targets left remaining, and I guess we can just go with the normal weapon attack. I'll use a range attack there. I like this bow, the Hellrider Longbow, because you can apply reverberation with it, because it has fairy fire on it. And then our bonus action command approach. We'll use our last level 2 spell slot here. 95% chance, 95% chance, boom. And we got command approach off. That's exactly what we wanted. So they now run into our Spirit Guardians and die. It's pretty crazy. So yeah, Spirit Guardians on that is really nice because you can literally just apply that, apply further radiating orbs, and it takes out the enemies just like that. So that's what I think to be the most overpowered Oath of the Crown Paladin in Baldur's Gate 3. It's a ton of fun, good protector. If you're playing with a friend, this is good to help keep them alive too. Let me know your thoughts though in the comments. Hit the subscribe button below if you haven't already, and I hope you have a great day. We'll catch you in the next one.